Welcome back. Now that I have finished both sides of the bag, you can see it's starting to take shape and look like an actual bag. So before we go in and actually join the sides and give the bag some shape, we need to do the folds of the bag. And this is just going to give it a lovely structure and make it a lot more voluminous than if we were to leave it like this. But you could leave it like this if this is a step that you do not want to take. For this part, you are going to need a yarn needle, and the reason why I'm using a yarn needle is because our yarn is very thick. So if you use a normal needle, you will likely not be able to get the yarn through the loop. Get a smaller piece of yarn. This is just a scrap that I've kept from earlier. The idea for these folds is for them to look something like this. I am going to start by stitching the two middle folds, and then I'll go to the side ones. So I'm going to measure it in this way. If you look at where we marked our central stitch, there are these 4 single crochet stitches that I'm going to base myself on. So I'm going to join this stitch to this stitch. So you want a fold that's about a width of 4 stitches. I'm going to stitch this fold that I'm holding on to here, that I marked earlier with my finger. So if I grab my needle, and this is just arbitrary, so all I know is that I want to stitch it roughly like this in a triangle shape. So you have this side and then you want to stitch it like this. So go behind the fold, and you can see my needles there as close as possible to the edge. Pull it up. And I want you to leave some of the yarn at the back so that you can later untie it to make sure it's secure. So this is what it should look from the back. And leave this piece of yarn out. Okay, so continue grabbing your fold. Stitch from there to there, from there to there, from there to there, from there to there, and from there to there. Alright, so every time you're sewing at the edge here, make sure you stitch as close to the edge as possible. Alright, so this is what it looks like from the front. And now if we turn it on the inside out, I'm still holding onto that yarn, and you should have the 2 pieces of yarn like this. Now what I want to do now is stitch only the fold bit as close to the base as possible. Like that. So you can see that's the first loop. And I would leave about 1 centimeter in between each of the loops. Second loop. Third loop, and let's do the 4th loop very close to where we marked the stitch. And also we want to leave next to where this yarn end was so that we can actually tie them together and make sure that nothing slips around at all. And to finalize, I'm going to grab these 2 yarn ends and literally just do a standard square knot. Actually, I'll do 3. Fine. And leave those there for now because we just want to finish our folds first. So if you turn it back around, this is what it looks like in the front. Now go ahead and take off that stitch marker. So let's do the next folds. Let's say this one. Okay guys, so now that we have done the 3 folds on each side, You can see how the bag is starting to look so incredibly cute. I love the way this is turning out. So to get the sides together, we have to do so from the inside of the bag. So we are not going to join the handles together. We are just going to join the bodies. And I think that a good place to mark it is, you can see that knot over there on either side. So that can be our marker to make sure that we are exactly symmetrical on each side. Join those knots together and grab those first 2 stitches and get your yarn maybe 15 centimeters from the tip and pull it through. And now what we can do is grabbing the longer part of the yarn and pull it through, just as if we're doing a slip stitch. And now we are going to do slip stitches all around to join the sides. So the most important thing for this step is to make sure that you are joining the correct stitches together. Okay, so this is the second one. Slip stitch. So it's very simple. All you have to do is find the gap, pull the yarn through, pull through the loop, then pull the loop through the stitch, and you're ready for the next one. So find the stitches, pull the yarn through, pull through the loop, and then pull through the loop again. And this way we are slip stitching all around, and it will be pretty much seamless. Now when you get to the corners, I'm going to grab these 2 yarn ends and I am just going to tie them together so that they don't slip away. There you go. And we can actually cut these off. Now, for this side, what I am going to do is I'm going to close it right in the corner here. So there's no stitch, as you can tell. So I'm just going to put my hook through the middle and I'm going to do the single crochet and the chain 1. And then the rest you just do exactly as we were doing before. And this time it will be a lot easier because you can actually see the top of the stitches and you can match them up really well together. And here we are approaching the end of these 2 sides. So once you get to the end there, pull the yarn through as if you're going to do a chain stitch. And actually, we are going to cut the yarn. There we go. And then all you have to do is just pull slowly and close. So if you tighten it, this will make sure that your sides do not come undone. And this is what your bag should be looking like. So all around there's a sort of braided chain looking joining of the sides. So I've just turned the bag inside out so that you can see what it looks like. And at this point it is really starting to take shape and look like a bag. And in my opinion it looks absolutely stunning, but it still isn't looking like the Bottega Veneta bag. And this is because of these corners here. So the Bottega Veneta bag does not have triangular corners. It actually has round corners that make the base of the bag look flat and then go up in a round way. So what we have to do is turn the bag inside out again, and we are going to stitch an inward triangle to the bag, something that looks like that, so that the side of the bag then looks round rather than triangular in shape. So let's do that again. Let me turn the bag inside out. So what we are going to do is grab the corner and flatten it like this. And then if you want to get your measuring tape out so that you can do the same on both sides, let's see, 7 centimeters. I will actually mark it so that I don't get confused when I'm doing this. So what I'm going to do is close this triangle. I'm going to use the stitches as a guideline throughout this line here. And once I get to this side, I'll stitch backwards, and at the end I'm going to have 2 yarn ends over this side. Let's just stitch this back and forth, leave your yarn end on that side, and we can just go from one side to the other. This does not have to be perfect, as long as you're making sure that you're sticking to the line, then it's fine. When I get to the very end and I go back, this time I'm going back in between the yarn itself, like this. So as you can see, I am just closing the yarn and making sure that it's nice and tight. Go. This does not have to be perfect. No one is going to ever have a look at your stitching skills in this side of the bag, but you do want it to be seamless and you do want it to be straight. Here we go. Once we get to the end, remove your stitch marker and go ahead and join your yarn ends with a square knot. And this is what it should look like. Now I'm going to do the same on the other side. Alright, so now that we have finished, it looks like our bag has 2 little bunny ears. But let me show you what this is going to look like when you turn the bag back to its normal position. Ta-da! And I think this is looking absolutely incredible. So this is what the sides look like. You can see that they're stitched in, but it's quite seamless. And this is what the other side looks like. And what that means is that you now have a base to your bag that's sort of a rectangular base. And the bag, when you put it down, it looks something like this. We are almost there, but there are a few little details that we need to do in order to make this a perfect Bottega Veneta iconic pouch bag.